Mind me, you ladyboy cunt! Please!
John Rambo is living a quiet life in Thailand when a group of Christian missionaries asks for passage into war-torn Burma to provide medical aid. After they are captured by the brutal military junta, Rambo must lead a team of elite mercenaries on a rescue mission. The film showcases extreme violence and Rambo's transition from a reclusive boatman back into a lethal machine.
Nobody talks. Man, sao quay của ngã chan lấy ra rồi, làm lâu nè. Cái lưu yêu rồi, bé xóa chả mà đâu. Bố đeo vào.
Dugo. Say Bob.
Tha ra, thằng nó xong mà. We came here to help stop the...
You cut your head.
Didn't you?
We at least have to go and have a look, sir.
Which way?
Go!
Lewis.
Oh, you boat. Need this shit. We're going back to the boat. I don't give a...
But this is what we live. Where's the girl? Here.
Shit. 1 minute.
Where are they?
Me, you ladyboy cunt!
Michael!
Hey guys, today we are taking a look at the 4th installment of the legendary action franchise, Rambo. This movie takes us deep into the jungles of Burma, where things get incredibly messy and the body count reaches astronomical levels. I put a lot of work into these, so if you like what you see, a like and a subscribe is always appreciated. No worries if not. We are going to dive into the grit, the grime, and the absolute chaos of John Rambo's return to war. The story opens in the heavy, humid heat of Thailand near the Burmese border. We see John Rambo, older but no less imposing, living a life of quiet solitude. He is not fighting wars anymore, at least not with guns and grenades. Instead, he spends his days catching deadly snakes for a local show and ferrying people up and down the river in his battered longtail boat. It is a strange, peaceful existence for a man who was once the ultimate weapon of the United States military. You have to wonder if the snakes ever look at him and realize they are the second most dangerous things in the area. Rambo moves with a slow, deliberate grace, his hands calloused and his face a mask of weary indifference. He captures a cobra with the kind of casual boredom most people reserve for checking their mail. The sound of the jungle is a constant, oppressive hum of insects and distant water, a sonic backdrop to his isolation. He is a man who has seen too much, and now he just wants to be left alone with his reptiles and his engine grease. Enter the Missionaries. A group of idealistic Christians from Colorado arrives, led by a man named Michael Burnett and a woman named Sarah Miller. They want Rambo to take them up the Salween River and into Burma, which is currently embroiled in a brutal civil war. They are carrying medical supplies and Bibles, hoping to provide aid to the Karen people who are being systematically slaughtered by the Burmese military junta, the Tatmadaw. Michael is the kind of guy who thinks a firm handshake and a sincere prayer can stop a genocidal regime, while Sarah has a quiet determination that seems to pique Rambo's interest despite himself. Rambo tells them to go home, stating that they are not going to change anything. He is cynical, cold, and blunt. He tells them that the world is full of people who want to hurt others, and that no amount of medicine is going to fix that. It is a clash of worldviews, the starry-eyed believers versus the man who has seen the literal bottom of the human soul.
Sarah does not give up easily. She approaches Rambo again, pleading her case. She tells him that trying to save a life is not wasting a life. There is a soft, melodic quality to her voice that contrasts sharply with Rambo's low, gravelly mumble. Rambo eventually relents, not because he believes in their cause, but perhaps because Sarah reminds him of something he lost a long time ago. He agrees to take them, and they load their crates of supplies onto his boat. The engine of the long-tail boat sputters and coughs to life, a rhythmic metallic thumping that echoes off the dense walls of the jungle. As they move up the river, the air becomes thicker, the green of the trees more suffocating. The missionaries talk about peace and hope, while Rambo stares ahead, his eyes scanning the banks for threats they do not even know exist. It is like watching a group of lambs hire a grizzly bear to take them into a wolf den. The journey is interrupted by a group of river pirates. These guys are not the high-seas swashbucklers you see in movies. They are gritty, desperate, and dangerous. They pull their boat alongside Rambo's and demand a toll. They want the supplies, and they want Sarah. The tension on the boat is a physical weight. You can hear the water lapping against the hull and the heavy breathing of the terrified missionaries. The lead pirate is arrogant, laughing as he eyes Sarah. Michael tries to negotiate, but these men do not speak the language of diplomacy. Rambo stands there, a coiled spring. When the pirate reaches for Sarah, Rambo moves faster than the eye can follow. It is a blur of motion. The crack of his pistol is sudden and deafening, a sharp metallic bark that shatters the silence of the river. In a matter of seconds, Rambo has neutralized the entire pirate crew with surgical precision. The deck is covered in blood, and the missionaries are in a state of absolute shock. Michael is horrified, accusing Rambo of being a murderer. Rambo just looks at him and tells him that he just saved their lives. The reality of the situation is starting to sink in for the Americans, and it is a lot bloodier than they expected.
After dropping the missionaries off at their destination, Rambo heads back down the river, but he cannot shake the feeling of dread. We then get a look at what the missionaries have walked into. The Burmese military, led by the sadistic Major Pei Tint, descends on the village where the missionaries are working. This scene is a visceral, harrowing depiction of war. The sound of mortars whistling through the air, followed by the earth-shaking thud of explosions, is relentless. The village is turned into a slaughterhouse. We see the soldiers moving with a cold, robotic efficiency, burning huts and gunning down civilians. The screaming is a constant, high-pitched wall of sound that eventually gives way to the low crackle of fire and the wet thud of bodies hitting the ground. The missionaries are rounded up and taken prisoner, their Bibles scattered in the mud and their medical supplies destroyed. It is a stark, brutal reminder of why Rambo told them to stay away. The movie does not shy away from the horror, showing the absolute depravity of the junta soldiers. Back in Thailand, a pastor from the missionaries' church comes looking for them after they fail to return. He finds Rambo and asks him to take a group of mercenaries up the river to find out what happened. Rambo initially refuses, but the pastor mentions that the missionaries are likely dead or worse. The mercenaries are a colorful bunch of professional killers. There is Lewis, the loudmouth leader, Schoolboy, the quiet sniper, Enju, the explosives expert, and a couple of others. They are arrogant and dismissive of Rambo, calling him a boatman and questioning his courage. It is almost funny to see these guys act tough around a man who has probably killed more people than all of them combined. They have the best gear money can buy, but they lack the internal fire that drives Rambo.
The sound of their boots on the wooden dock and the clinking of their tactical gear creates a sense of professional readiness that Rambo matches with just a simple, sharp knife. Rambo takes them up the river, and the dynamic is tense. The mercenaries are constantly bickery, their voices sharp and aggressive. They treat the mission like a high-stakes game, while Rambo remains a silent, brooding presence at the helm of the boat. When they reach the point where the missionaries were dropped off, they find the village in ruins. The smell of charred wood and decay hangs heavy in the air. The silence is more terrifying than the noise of the battle was. They find the bodies of the villagers, and even the hardened mercenaries are taken aback by the brutality they see. Schoolboy, the sniper, spots something through his long-range optics. He sees the military camp where the survivors are being held. The mercenaries realize that this is not a simple search and rescue, it is a suicide mission. They decide to pull back, but Rambo has other plans. He is not leaving Sarah behind.
The rescue mission is a masterclass in stealth and tension. Rambo leads them through the jungle under the cover of darkness. The only sounds are the rustle of leaves and the occasional distant shout from the military camp. Rambo moves like a ghost, his dark clothes blending into the shadows. He uses his bow and arrow, a weapon that makes no sound but carries a lethal punch. The thwack of the bowstring and the soft thud of the arrow hitting its mark are the only indications of his presence. He takes out guards one by one, clearing a path for the mercenaries. There is a moment where he uses a massive claymore mine to create a diversion. The explosion is a blinding flash of light and a shockwave that rattles the very air, followed by the metallic rain of shrapnel shredding the surrounding foliage. It is a beautiful, terrifying display of pyrotechnics that sends the camp into chaos.
The battle is chaotic and visceral. Rambo is covered in blood and grease, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. He is not just fighting to save the missionaries, he is fighting because this is what he was made for. He is the storm that the junta never saw coming. The mercenaries join in the fight, their professional training finally being put to the ultimate test. Lewis is screaming orders over the din, while Schoolboy picks off targets from the high ground with chilling accuracy. The sound of grenades exploding and the whistle of RPGs add to the sensory overload. The river itself seems to turn red as the fighting spills onto the banks. It is a brutal, exhausting sequence that pushes the characters to their absolute limits. Major Potty Tint, the man responsible for the massacre at the village, tries to escape, but Rambo catches up to him. The confrontation is short and brutal. Rambo does not use a gun, he uses his hands and a knife. It is a personal, visceral end for a man who caused so much suffering. When the smoke finally clears, the silence that follows is deafening. The jungle is littered with the wreckage of war. The survivors are in shock, staring at the carnage they have just witnessed. Michael Burnett, the man who believed in peace and nonviolence, is sitting in the mud, covered in blood, holding a rock he used to kill a soldier. The transition in his character is perhaps the most poignant part of the movie. He has seen the darkness, and it has changed him forever. Sarah looks at Rambo, and there is a deep, unspoken understanding between them. He saved her, but at the cost of unleashing the monster he had tried so hard to keep hidden. The mercenaries gather their gear, their arrogance gone, replaced by a profound respect for the man they once called a boatman. The final scene of the movie is a quiet, reflective moment that brings the entire Rambo saga full circle. We see Rambo walking down a dusty road in Arizona. He is wearing the same clothes he had in Thailand, but his gait is different. He is walking towards a mailbox that says, R. Rambo. He has finally come home. The sound of the wind blowing through the dry grass and the distant chirping of birds is a stark contrast to the humid, violent jungle of Burma. He has found a kind of peace, or at least a resolution. The man who was once a wanderer with no place to go has returned to the place where it all began. It is a powerful, understated ending for one of cinema's most iconic action heroes. The journey of John Rambo is one of the most fascinating arcs in action movie history. He started as a victim of a system that didn't know how to handle its own veterans, transitioned into a Cold War icon, and finally became a weary warrior seeking redemption in the shadows of a forgotten conflict. This 2008 film stripped away the cartoonish elements of the previous sequels and returned to the raw, visceral roots of the character. It forced the audience to look at the reality of war and the toll it takes on the human soul. The violence was not just for show, it was a narrative tool used to demonstrate the gravity of the situation in Burma and the necessity of a man like Rambo in a world that often ignores such atrocities. Looking back at the entire experience, the movie is a testament to the power of visceral storytelling. It doesn't rely on complex plot twists or high-concept sci-fi elements. It relies on the primal conflict between good and evil and the heavy price that must be paid to bridge that gap. The sound design, from the squelch of the mud to the thunder of the machine guns, creates an immersive atmosphere that stays with you long after the credits roll. The performances, particularly Stallone's understated and physically demanding portrayal of Rambo, give the film an emotional weight that anchors the extreme action. It is a movie that knows exactly what it is and doesn't apologize for its intensity. The mercenaries themselves deserve a bit more credit for their part in the chaos. Lewis, the SAS veteran, spends half the movie being a complete jerk, but when the bullets start flying, he is the first one in the thick of it. There is something satisfying about seeing his professional cynicism get knocked down a notch by Rambo's raw talent. And then there is Schoolboy, the young sniper who seems to be the only one with a conscience among the hired killers. His relationship with Rambo is one of silent respect, two men who understand the weight of taking a life from a distance. The tactical details, like the use of the Barrett sniper rifle and the strategic placement of the mercenaries during the rescue, add a layer of realism to the over-the-top action that makes it feel earned. Even the villains in this movie are portrayed with a terrifying lack of humanity that makes their eventual demise feel like a necessity rather than just another plot point. Major Pati Tint is a monster, but he is a human monster, which makes him even scarier. The way the movie depicts the soldiers using the villagers for target practice or forcing them to run through minefields is incredibly difficult to watch, but it serves to justify the extreme level of violence Rambo unleashes on them. It is a world where the traditional rules of engagement do not apply, and Rambo is the only person equipped to navigate that darkness. He is the monster we send to kill the other monsters.
The missionaries' journey is also a compelling part of the narrative. They represent the best of humanity, but their idealism is shown to be dangerously naive in the face of such pure evil. Sarah's growth throughout the film is subtle but powerful. She starts as someone who wants to change the world through kindness, and ends as someone who understands that sometimes kindness needs a shield. Michael's descent into violence is a more tragic arc, showing how even the most peaceful person can be pushed to the brink when faced with the unspeakable. Their story serves as a mirror to Rambo's, highlighting the different ways people deal with trauma and the harsh realities of the world. The action choreography in the final battle is some of the most intense ever put to film. The use of practical effects over CGI gives every explosion and gunshot a sense of weight and danger. You can feel the heat of the fire and the vibration of the heavy machinery. The way Rambo handles the .5 cal is iconic for a reason. It is not just about him shooting people, it is about him becoming a force of nature. The sheer mechanical power of the weapon mirrors the unstoppable force of his will. Every time the gun thumps, you see the devastating results, and it is a reminder of why the world of Rambo is so different from other action franchises. It is dirty, it is loud, and it is unforgiving. As Rambo walks up that long driveway at the end, you can almost feel the weight lifting off his shoulders. He has been running for decades, from the police in Hope, Washington, to the jungles of Vietnam and the deserts of Afghanistan. But in the end, the only place left for him to go was back to where he started. It is a quiet, dignified conclusion to a story that has been defined by noise and fury. The image of him in his father's ranch, surrounded by the vastness of the American West, is a beautiful contrast to the claustrophobic jungles he just left behind. He is no longer a soldier without a country. He is just a man coming home. In the end, this movie is a meditation on the nature of violence and the burden of the warrior. It asks if a person who has spent their entire life in combat can ever truly find peace. Rambo's journey suggests that while the scars will never fully heal, there is a possibility for a quiet resolution. He didn't change the world, and he didn't stop the war in Burma, but he saved a few lives and found his way back to himself. It is a small victory in a world filled with grand tragedies, but for John Rambo, it is more than enough. The sounds of the jungle fade away, replaced by the simple, beautiful silence of home.
The character of John Rambo has always been a lightning rod for cultural discussions about war and heroism. In this film, he is stripped of the political baggage of the 80s and presented as a primal force. He is a man who has transcended ideology and now only understands the base reality of survival and protection. This version of Rambo feels more grounded and authentic than the one who single-handedly won the Cold War. He is tired, he is hurting, and he is old, which makes his feats of strength and skill even more impressive. He is a relic of a different era, but in the brutal landscape of modern Burma, he is exactly what is needed.
The sensory experience of this film is what sets it apart. The way the camera lingers on the details of the environment, from the insects crawling on a leaf to the rust on a boat engine, makes the world feel lived in and tactile. The sound of the rain in the jungle is not just a background noise, it is a heavy, rhythmic presence that adds to the atmosphere of dread. The metallic clinking of shell casings hitting the ground during the final battle provides a rhythmic counterpoint to the chaotic gunfire. These small details build a world that feels incredibly real, which in turn makes the high stakes of the mission feel much more urgent. When you look at the mercenaries again, you realize they are a reflection of what Rambo could have been if he had stayed in the military or become a gun for hire. They are professionals, but they lack the depth of character that Rambo possesses. They are in it for the money and the thrill, while Rambo is in it because he has no other choice. His connection to Sarah is the catalyst that drives him, a small spark of humanity in a man who thought he was dead inside. This emotional core is what makes the action matter. Without the relationship between Rambo and the missionaries, the film would just be a series of explosions. But because we care about their survival, every bullet fired feels like it has a purpose. The movie also touches on the theme of legacy. Rambo is the last of a dying breed of warriors. The mercenaries are modern, high-tech, and commercialized, while Rambo is ancient and elemental. The way he uses his bow and his knife alongside the heavy machine guns shows a bridge between old-world combat and modern warfare. He is a master of both, a man who can adapt to any environment and any weapon. This versatility is what has allowed him to survive for so long, even when the world around him has changed so drastically. He is the ultimate survivor, a man who will always find a way to keep moving forward.
The final battle on the riverbank is also a study in tactical positioning. Even in the middle of all the chaos, you can see how Rambo and the mercenaries are using the terrain to their advantage. They use the high ground, the cover of the jungle, and the bottleneck of the river to manage the superior numbers of the enemy. It is a smart, well-thought-out sequence that rewards the viewer for paying attention to the geography of the scene. The way the battle shifts from a desperate defense to a crushing offensive once Rambo takes the machine gun is a classic example of how a single decisive action can change the course of a conflict. The sound of the .50 cow is not just a sound effect, it is a character in itself. It is the voice of Rambo's rage, a thunderous declaration that the time for talk is over. Every time it fires, it feels like the movie is punctuating a sentence. It is the final word in every argument the missionaries tried to have about the nature of peace and war. In the world of Rambo, violence is not the answer, but it is often the only way to stop the questions from being asked. It is a harsh reality, but one the film embraces with a brutal honesty that is rare in modern action movies. As we see the aftermath of the battle, with the wounded being tended to and the dead being counted, the film doesn't offer any easy answers. The war in Burma continues, and the missionaries will likely return to their lives with scars that will never heal. But there is a sense of accomplishment, a feeling that for one brief moment, the bad guys lost and the good guys were saved. It is a small light in a very large dark, and sometimes that is the best we can hope for. Rambo's decision to return home is his final act of defiance against a world that wanted to keep him as a weapon. He chooses to be a man instead. The journey from the river in Thailand to the ranch in Arizona is a long one, both in miles and in the soul of John Rambo. It is a journey that has spanned decades and multiple movies, each one adding a layer to the legend. This 2008 film is the perfect bridge between the past and the future of the character. It honors what came before, while providing a definitive and satisfying conclusion to his arc. It is a movie that respects its audience and its hero, delivering an experience that is both thrilling and emotionally resonant. The silence of the Arizona desert is the perfect final note for a story that was born in the noise of Vietnam. The visual of Rambo walking down that road is etched in the memory of every fan of the franchise. It is a simple shot, but it carries the weight of everything that has happened to him. The dust on his boots, the sun on his face, and the horizon ahead of him all speak of a future that is finally his own. He is no longer defined by his service or his trauma. He is defined by his choice to go home. It is a powerful, quiet moment that perfectly encapsulates the theme of the movie. Sometimes the bravest thing a warrior can do is put down their weapons and walk away. The impact of this film on the action genre cannot be overstated. It pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable in terms of on-screen violence, but it did so with a purpose. It didn't glorify the carnage. It showed it for what it was, something ugly and terrifying and necessary.
It set a new standard for realism in action choreography and sound design, influencing a generation of filmmakers who wanted to tell grittier, more grounded stories. It is a film that stands the test of time, a raw and unflinching look at a man who became a legend by simply refusing to die. The relationship between Rambo and Sarah remains the emotional heart of the story. Even though they come from completely different worlds, they find a common ground in their desire to protect the innocent. Sarah's faith in humanity is tested, but it is Rambo's actions that allow that faith to survive. In a way, they save each other. She saves his soul by giving him a reason to fight for something other than himself, and he saves her life by being the monster she needed him to be. It is a complex, beautiful dynamic that adds a layer of depth to what could have been a simple rescue mission. The mercenaries, for all their bravado, are ultimately just spectators to the legend of Rambo. They see him in action and realize that they are just playing at war, while Rambo is war itself. Their presence in the film provides a necessary contrast to Rambo's character, highlighting his unique skills and his singular focus. They are the professionals, but he is the master. The way they follow his lead in the final battle shows that they recognize his authority, not because of his rank, but because of his presence. He is the leader they didn't know they needed. The final battle also showcases the strategic brilliance of Rambo. He doesn't just run in, guns blazing. He plans, he waits, and he strikes at the most opportune moment. His use of the environment, from the high grass to the river itself, shows a deep understanding of guerrilla warfare. He is always one step ahead of the enemy, even when he is outnumbered and outgunned. This tactical intelligence is what makes Rambo so dangerous. He is not just a physical powerhouse. He is a brilliant military mind who knows how to exploit the weaknesses of his opponents.
The sound of the jungle in the aftermath of the battle is a haunting reminder of the cost of the conflict. The birds begin to sing again, and the wind rustles the leaves, as if the earth is trying to reclaim the battlefield. The contrast between the natural beauty of the environment and the man-made horror of the war is a constant theme throughout the film. It highlights the senselessness of the violence and the resilience of nature. The jungle doesn't care who wins or loses, it only cares about surviving. In many ways, Rambo is just like the jungle. He is a part of the landscape, a force that cannot be tamed or broken. The scene where Michael Burnett kills a soldier with a rock is one of the most powerful moments in the film. It is a raw, desperate act that strips away all of his civilized pretenses. It shows that in the heat of the moment, the instinct to survive is stronger than any ideology. It is a moment of profound transformation for Michael, one that he will have to live with for the rest of his life. It is the moment he truly understands Rambo, and it is a moment that bridges the gap between the two characters. They are both men who have been forced to kill to survive, and that is a bond that can never be broken. The return to Arizona is a homecoming that has been decades in the making. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated peace in a story that has been defined by conflict. The way Rambo looks at the mailbox, the simple act of reading his name, is a reclaiming of his identity. He is no longer just a soldier or a boatman. He is John Rambo, a man with a home and a history. It is a beautiful, understated conclusion to a legendary story, leaving the audience with a sense of hope and resolution. The road ahead may be long, but for the first time in a very long time, Rambo is heading in the right direction. The themes of sacrifice, redemption, and the enduring human spirit are woven throughout the narrative. Rambo's sacrifice is not just physical, it is emotional. He gives up his peace to save others, knowing that it will once again unleash the darkness within him. But in doing so, he finds a way to redeem himself and finally find his way home. It is a powerful message about the nature of heroism and the heavy price that must be paid for freedom. The missionaries' sacrifice of their safety and their comfort for the sake of others is also a central theme, highlighting the different ways people can make a difference in the world.
The film's legacy is one of intensity and authenticity. It is a movie that doesn't pull its punches, both literally and figuratively. It forces the audience to confront harsh realities of war and the toll it takes on the people who fight it. But it also offers a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of places, there are people who will stand up for what is right. John Rambo is one of those people, a flawed and weary hero who reminds us that sometimes the only way to find the light is to walk through the fire. The sound of the final gunshot echoing through the jungle is a reminder that the war is never truly over. There will always be conflicts, and there will always be people caught in the crossfire. But as long as there are people like Rambo, there is a chance for the innocent to be protected and for the monsters to be stopped. It is a sobering thought, but also a reassuring one. The world is a dangerous place, but it is not without its defenders. Rambo is the ultimate defender, a man who will always be ready to answer the call, even if he wishes he didn't have to. The transition from the final battle to the quiet of Arizona is a masterclass in pacing. It allows the audience to breathe after the sensory overload of the combat and to reflect on the journey of the characters. The slow, deliberate shots of Rambo walking down the road provide a sense of closure that is both emotional and satisfying. It is a moment of quiet dignity for a character who has often been denied it. The music, a soft and melancholic version of the classic Rambo theme, adds to the emotional weight of the scene, bringing the story to a perfect conclusion. The 2008 Rambo is more than just an action movie. It is a visceral experience that stays with you. It is a film that demands to be seen and heard, a raw and unflinching look at a character who has become a part of our cultural mythology. It is a movie that honors its roots while looking forward, providing a definitive end to one of the most iconic stories in cinema history. Whether you are a fan of the franchise or a newcomer to the world of Rambo, this film is a powerful and unforgettable journey that reminds us of the true cost of war and the enduring power of the human spirit. Through the blood and the fire, John Rambo reminds us that the greatest battle is often the one within ourselves. He fought for his country, he fought for his friends, and finally, he fought for his own soul. His journey from the jungles of Vietnam to the ranch in Arizona is a testament to the resilience of the human heart and the possibility of finding peace after a lifetime of conflict. He is a hero not because he is perfect, but because he keeps going, even when the world gives him every reason to stop. He is the ultimate survivor, and his story is one that will continue to resonate for generations to come.
The visceral nature of the film is a deliberate choice that forces the viewer into the shoes of the characters. You don't just watch the battle, you feel it. The sound of the bullets, the heat of the explosions, and the smell of the mud are all part of the experience. It is a movie that engages all the senses, creating a level of immersion that is rare in modern cinema. This commitment to realism is what makes the action so effective and the stakes so high. When Rambo is in danger, you feel it in your gut. When he triumphs, you feel it in your soul. The final image of Rambo walking towards his home is a powerful reminder that everyone deserves a place to belong. For a man who has spent his life in the shadows of war, the simple act of coming home is the ultimate victory. It is a victory that he earned through blood and sweat and tears, and it is a victory that we share with him. As the screen fades to black, we are left with the image of a man who has finally found his peace, and that is the most heroic thing of all. The legend of Rambo lives on, but the man has finally found his way home. The character's evolution from the misunderstood veteran in the first film to the weary warrior in this installment is a remarkable journey. Each movie added a new layer to his personality, showing different facets of his character and his struggle. In this film, we see the culmination of that journey, a man who has seen the worst of humanity and still chooses to do what is right. It is a powerful and moving arc that gives the film a depth and emotional resonance that is truly special. Rambo is not just an action hero, he is a symbol of the enduring human spirit and the strength it takes to keep moving forward in a world that often tries to hold us back. The direction by Sylvester Stallone is confident and focused, showing a deep understanding of the character and the world he inhabits. He doesn't shy away from the brutality of the story, but he also doesn't forget the heart of the characters. His performance is one of his best, capturing the weariness and the rage of Rambo with a subtle and powerful intensity. He is a man of few words, but his actions speak volumes. He is the heart and soul of the film, and his presence is felt in every frame. It is a career-defining performance that cements his status as one of the greatest action icons of all time. The soundtrack, composed by Brian Tyler, is a masterpiece of tension and emotion. It perfectly complements the action on screen, adding to the atmosphere of dread and the sense of triumph. The use of the classic Jerry Goldsmith themes provides a link to the past, while the new material gives the film its own unique identity. It is a score that is both grand and intimate, matching the scale of the conflict and the personal journey of the hero. It is the final piece of the puzzle that makes the film a truly immersive and unforgettable experience. The themes of Rambo are universal and timeless. It is a story about the cost of war, the power of redemption, and the strength of the human spirit. It is a story that resonates with people from all walks of life, reminding us of the importance of standing up for what is right and the necessity of protecting the innocent. It is a movie that challenges us to look at the world around us and to find the courage to make a difference. John Rambo is a hero for our times, a man who reminds us that even in the darkest of places, there is always a chance for the light to shine through.
The film is a powerful reminder that the stories we tell matter. They reflect our fears, our hopes, and our values. They challenge us to think and to feel, and they help us to understand ourselves and the world around us. The story of John Rambo is one of those stories, a legendary tale that has captured the imagination of millions. It is a story that will continue to be told and retold, a timeless legend of a man who fought for his soul and finally found his way home. The journey may be over, but the legend will never die. In closing, this journey through the world of John Rambo reminds us that sacrifice is the true measure of a hero. Throughout these brutal landscapes, we see that the weight of the world often falls on the shoulders of those who want to carry it the least. Rambo's ultimate sacrifice was his own peace of mind, which he gave up time and again to protect those who could not protect themselves. It is a powerful reflection on the human condition and the realization that even in a world of darkness, a single spark of courage can ignite a fire that changes everything for the better. Rambo 2008 is a visceral masterpiece that redefined the action genre by returning to the raw, emotional roots of its title character. Stallone's direction and performance created an unflinching look at the horrors of war and the necessity of the warrior. It remains special because of its refusal to compromise on its vision, delivering a gritty and authentic experience that stays with you. What does it truly mean to come home after a lifetime of war? That is the question this movie leaves us with, and it is one that continues to provoke thought long after the final credits have rolled.